What's up, guys? All right, so today I'm joined with one of my good friends, Christian Guzman, and this has been a much anticipated episode, right? And I always like to emphasize, give a little bit of a background, but I think this video is going to be a little different. I think a lot of people who are watching this and know my relationship with Christian, they know, that he is a operator of ALPHALETE. He is somebody who owns now one of the biggest and most popular gyms in the world, and it feels like he's starting new businesses every other day. But when you think of Christian, I think a lot of the things that come to mind are YouTuber, content creator, right? Owner and operator of all these businesses, but I have an opportunity to see Christian from a different lens, a different perspective. And I think that perspective is one of an athlete, a perspective from my shoes as a coach, which is why I really wanted to have him on today, to peel back the layers of the bodybuilder of who Christian Guzman is, which I truly believe is also going to help us peel back the man of who Christian Guzman is. So again, before we jump into this, man, I want to take a quick second to thank you for hopping on. And this, like I said, has been, anticipated. And as busy of a man that you are, it means a lot that you're willing to take some time and, give me an opportunity to really get a chance to peel back these layers. So again, thank you, brother.
It's an honor to be here. Known Alex for what, 5 years now?
Yeah, it's six years. I started.
6 years.
Yes. So just a little background on kind of how Christian and I's relationship started. I started bodybuilding 6 years ago now, and I stepped on stage at Summer Shredding, which was the second Summer Shredding ever, and that show changed my life forever. It gave me an opportunity that I never imagined. I always said this. I was a very NPC minded bodybuilder. I wanted to grow the ranks as quickly as possible, get my IFBB Pro card, make it to the Olympia, and all these things. And I never really thought about the marketing side, the content creation side, the kind of bridging yourself between who you are, on social presences and just a bodybuilder. And I truly believe that's why I've been able to separate, who I am today as not just a bodybuilder, but, somebody who works with brands and who actually can make a sustainable living on doing this, being in front of a camera. And summer shredding was that intro for me. And I definitely want to spend some time diving into the summer shredding side of things, but Christian from there gave me an opportunity to be a part of a brand, and he saw something in me, truthfully, before I even saw it in myself. It came with a sponsorship, but he didn't need to keep me on after that. And that opportunity, was then granted to me, and I think I've been able to prove myself over that time to, get me now to, where I am, where I'm with the brand for 6+ years. And again, man, it's something that I never thought my path with bodybuilding would take me. And again, Christian has helped change my life. There's no question about that. And that show in itself, Summer Shredding's opened up opportunities and doors for me. So, just actually, no, starting there, man, Summer Shredding, like bodybuilding is a massive part of who I am. And I think that introduced me to our relationship. But where did the idea of Summer Shredding come from? How did it originate? And how did it turn into what we know of it today, being Summer Shredding Championships?
Yeah, so Summer Shredding started out as a YouTube series. This was before I had ever done a competition. I've personally stepped on stage 9 times in my life, but kind of different than what you described is I was already doing YouTube and was kind of already documenting and blogging sort of my days, my nutrition, all that kind of stuff. Back then, the content was way different than it is now. Now it's everything short form. It's very, very different, I got to say. But by starting out in 2012 making videos, my first summer shredding series was just the first series that I was going to document doing a prep, my first show. I'm going to document getting on that stage, right? And I was 19 at the time. I called it Summer Shredding because I was picking a show for summer. Might as well hit two birds in one stone, do a show, get lean for summer, go to the beach, get the girls, freshmen in college. It sounds great, you know? So that's really as simple as it was. That's all it was at the time. I maybe did like 30 episodes for season one. And then from there, got hooked on competing. Competing, that first stage experience just completely gave me so much confidence. So not even confidence, I didn't even win, but it gave me a little taste that we all know and are hooked to. And it gave me a baseline to start improving. So something to start coming in better, something to like log, okay, this is the best I could be at this day. Let me set another show in a year, see if I can do better. And then I continued summer shredding, season 2, season 3, and eventually started a bodybuilding show here in Houston, Texas, which, that was, and while still competing in the IFB or NPC at the time.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say this, man. Typically, I say if you get into bodybuilding for the wrong reasons, I think it has an opportunity to humble you, right? So I know today's modern day and age, bodybuilding is popularized due to social media, and some people want to do it just to document, right? But now having an opportunity to know you and have coached you, I think you use that as a spark. I think you use that as an opportunity to prove that you weren't just a content creator. Like that's something that I saw firsthand, man. Like being in the hotel room, seeing you suffer, seeing you push yourself past your own limitations and expectations. Just kind of a brief overview of your competition history. How many shows have you done? And I'm guessing each series you've done or each show prep that you've done was also documented as alongside of a summer shredding process. Correct?
Correct. Yeah. So each show, I did 9 shows total. Had to go recount in my head last night to be sure I had the right number. But 9 shows total. I think one of the differences though, which is kind of, I was just very naive when I was younger, man. Like after I had finally won my first show, I think that was like the 3rd show that I had done, just the NPC level, the local show. You got first place, and I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even really understand the process, or like that I was qualified for a national show or anything like that. I was just sort of, giving it my all, trying to get my best physique and trying to make videos that would reach more and more people and help more people at the same time. So that was like the focus. It wasn't really like climbing the ranks, because let's like just being honest with myself and looking at what I was seeing on the pro stages and things like I very far off, right? There's a long way to go for that, but I didn't want to use that as like a negative to stop me from competing. I wanted to just keep focusing on like doing my thing, I guess, in my own little world,
Yeah. So you made
until I, in recent years, I guess started really, diving in more. And after a few first place finishes, second place finishes, I was all right, I am qualified. Let's fucking jump in. Let's go for it. And let's stop looking at those pro competitor, those pro stages and that caliber physique and like just looking at myself and just automatically thinking I'm not good enough. I'm not going to get there. I'm not that big. The size was always like the biggest thing that would just deter me from even wanting to try, to be honest, because I just knew I didn't have that kind of size. I knew I didn't have that kind of body weight
like
on
a lot
me
of
when I
people,
was field.
and that's
And that's the bigger world, which is like in the bigger audience. And I feel a big reason I'm still making content 10 years later and still putting a lot of my focus on video content when I have like the businesses and stuff to attend to that do need me to attend to. It's like I sacrifice a little bit of that to continue focusing on this forefront of like being in the front and just like being on camera, because I have seen the effect of it over time. And that is where that's the real life part of it,
yeah. I mean, and so many things to unpack here, man, because, I think your best video of all time are tied between 2, right? First, you can never go wrong with the Christian Guzman video when he gave his dad a car, right? That one will forever be a legendary video. But the one that I love that's more recent was your 10 goals. And one of your 10 goals was to become an IFBB Pro. And, obviously I'm your coach at that time, and I hear that and I take that to heart because, I'm a part of that process and I can help you, maximize that. And at the end of the day, you have the potential, man. I mean, this past season, stepping on the national stage for the first time at the most prestigious, USA championships, and then you go to North Americans, you place top 5 in both of those, and when you peel back those layers, guys, that means, there's only 4 people, and for some of those shows, 3 people ahead of them, who are getting a pro card, like going from a regional show and stepping on stage and again, winning first places, right? Getting qualified. What did you notice was the biggest difference from regional shows compared to national shows? And obviously size is going to be in that, but I'm talking about even the preparation. Like what did you notice the biggest differences from regional compared to stepping on a national stage?
I think that the overall flow of what it means to be a men's physique competitor, if there's one thing I've always had on my kind of corner would be the conditioning. I've always been able to get peeled. I can't say the same about posing, about flow, about like confidence. I'm kind of starting to get on stage, but like realizing it's blaring obvious to go from a local show, and then when you go to a national show, just like the comfort level of these competitors on stage is just like automatic. It's like it's a whole. It's like there's not no off posing. There's not no like. There's little things that you kind of, it's a, you got to know what you're up against, or I guess not necessarily. You'll never know what you're up against or who you're going to be up against, but you got to know the level required to just, I guess, be in those kind of top conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I will say, like, felt exactly the same though, is man, that time on stage for me, like, even though it still went like that, like
Yeah.
it just flies. And that's one thing. Like I know that until you get to like the pro level, that's when you'll get a little bit more time on stage, the individual routines. But like I definitely, it goes so quick,
It does.
even still for me.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, even as a pro, I think when you get more stage experience, the one thing that I've noticed is you almost control the moment a little bit more. I'll never forget my
Yeah.
first ever, show walking across the stage, and then summer shredding shortly after that. It felt like things were moving so fast. Like that, just how fast I was walking out to the middle, right? How fast I hit my routine, just how fast I felt like the judges were moving us, and being in my shot, and then turning us around. It felt like
So,
I had
are you
no.
sure you got a look? Are you sure? Are you sure
Yep.
you got your look? Are you sure you like checked it out? All
Exactly.
right. Yeah,
Right.
it's
And then you got to be like, hey, like I don't know if I showed my back the
that
best.
that wasn't my hit. I didn't hit it yet. Like, and that's
Exactly.
all you get. That's only 5 seconds you get.
And I think that there's no time. There's no question as you're a professional, right? They give you that more time. But in the same breath, I think you know how to maximize your time when you're also a professional a little bit more when you're on those stages, not, fighting with those elbows and maybe instead taking that step forward, right? And then understanding how to gain that ground back when you're transitioning back around, right? Some of those little things that will still get you in that shot, but you also, again, kind of make up for that ground. And you hit on this in the in the start, and this is something that I want to make sure that if you're not comfortable with, obviously, we can skip right over this. But when it comes to the size aspect, one thing that we talked about is over the last 9 shows that you've done, or I think it was maybe from 5 to 7 years, you didn't put on a ton of stage weight, right? And I think
It's
people,
been very gradual, like
yeah.
very, very gradual.
So, do you remember what you were around like the first
First
show?
show, 154.
And you stepped on stage.
154. I was 179, 180 at this past show when
Okay.
I placed fifth at the two shows. But
And-
and now I'm kind of hanging out at like a 215, leaner than I was at the start of my prep last year. So I'm in
yeah.
a nice position right now to just keep developing, keep building, and realizing it may not be an every year kind of thing for me. Right, stepping on stage, it may not be, and accepting that, and just using it as motivation to actually like hone in and really bring a different package the next time we do step on.
Yeah, and actually take the time that's required to, listen to the feedback and put that time in to not be the same on stage the next time.
Mm-hmm.
Like your strengths and you also know your weaknesses. And I think a lot of times people rush to get back on stage because, hey, they might want to document a new prep series, or they don't want to be, quote unquote, overweight or, in a bulking phase for an extended period of time, right? So they don't know how to not get comfortable or get uncomfortable in order to get comfortable. And they use a prep as an opportunity to
The
kind of
biggest
practice.
mind fuck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's the biggest mind fuck letting that bulk keep going.
Yeah,
But
it's not easy. Now, drawing back to the stage weight aspect, right? And this is probably where the hype of natty or knots came in. I think you were a topic of conversation in almost every single one of those videos. When was that decision for you to go from natural to enhanced, and kind of
mhm.
what went along with that process?
So that for me was after like 4 years of competing. I was about mid 20s when I did get on. And if I'm being very frank, the bigger reason for me to get on was not necessarily the stage. It was not excelling in the sport. It was more so to with the increased workload and responsibility of everything, just to kind of it almost sounds like an excuse in that
Right.
sense, but it enabled me to
Be a heightened version of you.
be a heightened version of myself. So, yeah, exactly. And
Like,
yeah,
and listen, as your coach, I can say this. Christian, without a doubt, was running the least, I mean, literally practically a single compound. The entire prep, which again, I'm sure we all can wrap our heads around, and practically steps on stage. I'm not going to say natty, but taking less than anybody on that stage. And to have you in that top conversation is a massive win in itself, and that's what, you hear people talk and you hear people assume, and it's likely because you have that freaky look and that freaky crazy conditioning, right? You took legitimately nothing that tends to come with that hardened look when it comes to the stage. And this is why I wanted to bring that up, because I think people dispel myths. They think that you got to, that heightened version of yourself more recently in the coming preps because of a special protocol.
Oh
Right?
yeah, no, it's conditioning. It's conditioning.
Exactly.
I've always felt that if you can't get shredded naturally, like it feels pretty much the same because and it's gonna be a shitty feeling. There's nothing you're gonna take that's gonna melt and get you that dry conditioning, like that dry look. It's just
I tell
that's
my clients,
time, diet.
Dude, I tell my clients all the time, sometimes natty conditioning is more, impressive than actually kind of juiced up conditioning, right? Like it's almost like you have thinner skin, a thinner layer when you have that inside out peeled natty look. I had a client just step on stage recently, just lost in the overall, won his class, and he's natty, and he doesn't look it at all because of how peeled that he actually is, So again, it was just one of those another prime examples of just that. Now, with that as well, right? You're looking to continue on this one goal that you set out to get your pro card. So I'm curious to know. I mean, obviously, we don't have any plans of stepping on stage right now. We did 2 national shows last season. You did very well in those national shows. What are your competitive plans moving forward? Are you just kind of taking it as is, or,
Well, so to be very straight up, I don't know if this is a direct cause of me being on testosterone, but I am right now dealing with some fertility issues.
Mhm.
So that's like what I'm full focus over next stage, over my next time on stage, over pro card, like that has to take priority. So like right now I'm on my protocol, HCG, FSA, like I'm just doing those things and just following my doctor's orders on that stuff while continuing, as far as the gym goes, I'm still pushing harder than ever, trying to gain muscle, trying to get bigger, trying to work my weak points. And really just focusing on that step first is where my head's at right now.
Okay. Now I'm curious, man, because I'm a bodybuilder. I'm having conversations about having kids, right? And always these things, health and fertility specifically, has been on my mind. Do you think that it was what you put your body through in terms of dieting down in a prep, or potentially even the blowback effect that was,
I
you
don't
know?
even want to make a guess, honestly. Like it could just be genetic, could be the test for years, could be the extended 24-week long prep that should have been maybe 16 weeks, right? Like it could have been me getting too lean too soon. Just it could have been, I was prescribed Adderall for a long time, and taking a lot of it. I've been off for like a good chunk of time, but it could have been that. Like there's so many could have beens. But all I know is like with my wife now, just got married, a few months ago or a month ago. It's like number one goal. Let's focus on that. And, I didn't get my blood work done as much as I wish I should have done it so much more frequently. I was always scared to do it. I was one of those guys. I
Yeah.
don't want to know there's something wrong. Don't tell me. Stupidest thing, stupidest way to think ever, guys. And like, if you do think like that in your 20s, like get the fuck over it. Get to your doctor and like just find out where you're at so you can start working towards, being at a good, like I don't think I'd be in this position right now. Maybe we would be talking about the next show if I would have just been doing my blood work and like checking everything like way sooner, more
Yeah.
frequently.
Yeah, bro. And listen, I can tell you this much. When I was prepping for the Olympia, I realized I started, my first show was in May, right? I did New York Pro. I qualified a couple weeks later, practically stayed in prep the whole time because in my head it's the Olympia. I gotta push the envelope. I gotta make sure I'm at my best. And if I would have gotten my blood work, I probably would have realized some of the things sooner was actually going on internally, which is a reason why I wasn't my best at the Olympia. And that was just strictly out of fear, young and saying I'm going to get it done after the fact, right? So any,
And that's Olympia. Think about the average Joe doing a local show. That's what I'm
yeah,
talking to,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt the podcast, but guys, I promise you it's for a good reason. Starting today, Monday, August 19th at 12 p.m. CST, ALPHALETE is doing their biggest sale that they have ever done. Starting from Monday all the way until Saturday at 12 p.m. CST, the entire website is now 30% off if you use my code ALEX at checkout. They're introducing a new discount week called Athlete Week. And this is an opportunity for all the athletes to truly show not only their worth, but their value to the company while also giving value back to their supporters. So 30% off the entire website. I'm gonna link some of my favorite items below, but as you guys probably have seen through whether it's my YouTube videos or my Instagram stories, I absolutely love their tanks. Their sweatshirts are absolutely amazing. Again, this is a huge opportunity, so it would mean the world if you guys could support and also save yourself some money. 30% off the entire website. All you have to do is use code ALEX at checkout. And as always, guys, I appreciate you. I love you guys. If you do use my code, make sure you tag me in it on your Instagram story so I can personally thank you. And again, code ALEX at checkout. Thank you guys so much for the support. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that people understand the importance of that, man, because, you know, getting your blood work is almost like having the test to an answers before you take the, you know, test. So, you know, make sure that you slow down in order to speed up, and a lot of that process is doing just that. You know, now I want to dive back into summer shredding. You know, obviously that's a special show to me. It's obviously a special show to you, and we are now in our sixth or seventh year.
Sixth or seventh, yeah.
Yeah, doing summer shredding, and I've witnessed the growth of it, you know, from not only when I competed to now it being a worldwide show in terms of how many shows and the amount of competitors and the hype around what is the Summer Shredding Championships. You know, just so you guys have a brief overview of what it is, right? This is no longer just one show or two shows in one season. You know, this is an opportunity for somebody to come in and win a purse of $35,000 for one person.
$130,000 total in prize money at the championship given out. But more than that, we've got sponsorships with their favorite clothing brands. We have ALPHALETE, we have Buffbone, we have Gymshark, we have all these, like those connections are there and ready and to be dealt with. Contracts are ready to get started when you win, which is like and also, like, not to mention, we give out like a full media kit. MacBook Pros, we give out the camera, the mic, the SD cards. We give everything you're going to need. A year worth of stuff, like supplement sponsorship, clothing sponsorship. You're going to get everything you need to build a career for yourself, for your future. And at least, like, for the timeline, and then it's up to you, the athlete, to continue and, you know, be sure that relationship stays. And that's a huge thing, because it's not just win and then get awarded and keep these, and then you don't do any work. It's like, no, then the work starts. But I think we're in an interesting time right now with the crossover from, you know, I think this is the first time that an average Joe could, you know, in theory, you know, win and get introduced into the fitness industry based off of someone's crazy transformation, or based off of a pro. You know, really anybody could do it. And I think that's what I really wanted to hit home with summer shredding, is that it's not just going to be the elite, like, so far in like anybody can make it in this industry. And that's the mission of it.
This show is an opportunity for you to change your life. You know, that's just a simple reality of it. Never did I ever imagine for me that I would be where I am, and summer shredding was a reason why that first door got open for me. But like he said, that's just the door. From there, you have to walk through it and make sure
it's just the door.
You have to seize that opportunity, because if you do not, those opportunities will, again, be passed on, or you will be left behind. And that's just the reality of any situation. That's like nailing a job interview and then not living up to what was on your resume, right? Like, you have to go in and put that work in day in and day out, you know? And I want to say this, you know, and this is where
the cool thing is, like, if you don't win, you still get what I walked away with after my first show, which is feeling like I was on top of the fucking world and I could do anything. And I just had this high that I was like, I got third place. I was, it didn't, you know, it was terrible, but it's like the combo of having opportunity to make a career for yourself, plus the natural, like, endorphins and life lessons that come along with getting on stage for the first time and, like, overcoming that fear, that's the magic.
Yes, and I want to make this very clear because there's a lot of fear for clients or people in general to step on stage for the first time. Summer Shredding is the best show for any first-time competitor to step on stage. When it comes to the way that it's ran, right, it's very similar to a NPC show. There's no question about that. But I also think it's slowed down in a way where you can actually digest what's going on. And it's also a lot that is there for the athletes without it moving too fast. I never forget my first NPC show. It was moving fast, and I didn't know how to grasp a lot of it. It was so much going on. That's one, right? Now at Summer Shredding, little things. Backstage, you have people walking around who work at the venue. There's tons of posters being put up saying when you're going on, what class that you're in. There's people walking around. You can ask them questions. Those little things add up so much more than you could ever imagine. So I want to make that very clear. One, it's very easy to digest, and there's also a lot of other first-time competitors, and a lot of times there's other teams there, and you get that slowed down effect with also still feeling that effect that you would typically get from a traditional NPC show. And so first-time competitors, if you are interested in stepping on stage, Summer Shredding is the best opportunity for you because not only will you put yourself in alignment with other people who are likely in your shoes, but again, the opportunities are there. Now, Summer Shredding has, without a doubt, caused a lot of shakeup in the bodybuilding community more than anything else. Now, what I mean by that, I've had 2 clients personally compete or win Summer Shreddings just this past year. And they walked away just themselves, men's physique and bikini, $10,000. And that's not including, again, there was other people who won the grand prize, which was, the step over that, which was the one transformation and one wellness client. And they won 35 plus all of the things that we just mentioned. So they won 10,000. Guys, I stepped on stage.
Should we add that final 35, that big payment, everybody that competes at the championship at the end of the year is required to make a video. It's a 2-minute video, and they answer 5 questions that we ask. What got you started on your journey? What is your inspiration moving forward? If all this, when you answer those questions, and these videos are submitted, we play them on the big screen at the show. And so that final, to crown the 2 champions, you have your now 9 divisions: wellness, physique, classic, body, all of those divisions. You have the champions, which all win their 10 grand. But then we watch those 9 videos on the stage, and then we pick 2 to win the big prize and be the champions of the year.
And that's also really another cool added entertainment aspect of this, right? We didn't even go into depth about the transformation division yet, which I do truly believe is something truly special in itself. But again, there's an entertainment aspect of this. While instead of going to a bodybuilding show when a lot of people are mostly bored if they're not watching their friends or family members on stage, Summer Shredding has an opportunity for you guys to be locked in and understanding other people's journeys and understanding kind of how they got to where they are.
The deeper meaning of that stage, of getting on that stage, which is that's what really hits home.
I always say that, man, the judges, they don't know what it took for you individually, specifically to get there. You could have lost family members. You could have got an injury. You could have went through a lot of mental distress that nobody sees, but they just see the final package and you get judged on that, right? I think the Summer Shredding, the way that they do things, especially for that overall battle, you have an opportunity to tell your story about who you are, your why. And that gets displayed for the world. And
guess what? Man, even if you don't win, anybody who went to that championship and competed has a video completed, ready to get, just in case they win, to get played, that they can have for themselves to post. And that is their fucking journey. That's their story. That's their proof of what they did. That's their then they have something to take home with them. And that, I don't know, I think it's a cool little twist on stuff, I guess.
No, it's different. It's unique. And again, as somebody who's been to countless bodybuilding shows, it's something that even from fans sitting in the crowd, I'm locked in from start to finish, and that's a really cool aspect, but like I was mentioning, I had 2 clients, they won Summer Shredding. They won $10,000 because I did 5 pro shows last season. I traveled all over, right? I placed, out of those 5, I placed top 3 4 times, 2 of those times being second place, just missing my Olympia qualification. And I walked away with a total of $5,000. And in one show, I've had people not only win $35,000, but again, multiple won $10,000. And this is where some stirring in the division, and more specifically the industry, kind of kind of came around because you saw a lot of comparisons and even pros, speaking out saying, how can we have amateurs who aren't pros, getting paid this when you have some of your top pros, getting paid that. And I'm curious, man. I'm sure you've gotten some blowback, right? I'm sure that the NPC has either reached out or whatever. Where are you are you in direct competition with the NPC? Do you want to be in alignment with the NPC? Kind of where's your head surrounding that?
So, like from the furthest bird's eye view, I'm still trying to compete in the, in the NBC IFBB. You know what I mean? And at the same time, like running my business over here, which has started as a YouTube series, and it's obviously like my intention is not to be a direct competitor to NPC. There will only, or IFBB, there's only going to ever be one Mr. Olympia. There's ever only going to be one IFBB Pro League to get to that end goal, Mr. Olympia stage. That is the only path that you can take, and that to reach that destination. And if that is the mission, then that is the route you take. And I have no intentions of like even, it's not even like, no, I'm in my own lane and we're doing our own thing. And any like prize money and stuff, it's prize. The NCAA with Caitlin Clark kind of has me like, it has had me thinking a lot on this. A division can really afford to pay the athletes like what if the division is or the business is profiting and making any money, or if it has sponsors and stuff like that that are willing to just donate prize money. And so like the truth, it's from a whole like an actual business perspective, it could be challenging for there's room. All I'll say like is there is room for more payment in a lot of these sports. I have a tiny little league, right? The summer shredding league, and we're able to do that, and so and provide money. So it's just a question of like when you really get into the accounting, like what do we have to work with? What can we afford? And yeah, I don't want to downplay anyone or anything, but it's that's what it comes down to.
I don't want you to downplay your league. I don't think you realize the caliber of athletes who stepped on that stage last season. Just at the championships alone, 6 people who walked across that stage a few weeks later got their pro cards. Yeah. I want you to understand. I mean, even people who are, again, like you said, vying for that Olympia qualification one day or becoming a pro, they understand the value that summer shredding is offering. And I want that to be very clear. Like summer shredding is definitely making waves. People are
one thing I did though last year, which I know I'm assuming we'll talk about Legion, but I did put in money for Legion last year just because I was I was kind of like at it. Oh, like no one was there to say no, like so I did that, which that I totally don't want to do again. Realizing like, oh, I'm just gonna go and put money into a different. That's where like that's where I don't want to cause any like trouble, and I'm not gonna do again just because like I'd love to see that even though I did that in last year, I'm starting to see like the Dubai show and everything, the prize money starting to go up, which I don't want to assume that that's because of me or anything or because of that move, but I hope it had some play in it.
Well, listen, you're taking the words right out of my mouth because, again, this is why I think this is so cool because, yes, there's no question, you're a successful businessman, but you're a fan of men's physique, right? You are a men's physique athlete and you put your money where your mouth is. And again, a lot of people, maybe not yourself, but some people would say summer shredding is could be in competition with NPC, at least in terms of eyeballs and making them raise their own standard of themselves. But I think that you putting your money where your mouth is by investing, I believe, 35,000, 25,000, something like
30,
into Legions, which then went on to be probably one of the biggest shows of the season with the most excitement and hype. And again, a lot of that was because of the money that was put into it. This was the highest purse ever, right? Outside of now the Dubai Pride, which is only beating it by $5,000, right? Being the highest paid men's physique show in the world. And that has to feel good, man, when you're a fan of it and you're a big reason for the growth of the division. You got to realize, like you said, there was a trickle down effect. That's happening. And then, like you said, the Dubai Pro show is happening. And now you're seeing a lot of other divisions. Arnold's, right? Like you're seeing a lot of other companies coming in and investing in divisions just like you did last year before it was popular to do that, right? So I want that to be understood, as a personal fan of men's physique, when you told me you were doing that, like I knew what that potential could have for our division. And again, like I said, it's raising the standards of the division because now people know it's possible, right? Like it's happening. It can happen before. I want to give some love to Aaron too. I know he helped, was a
Yeah,
catalyst to that.
I do want to say something, man. It's like anytime you start a business, anytime a person starts a business, it's to create a product and put a twist on something that you think can become that is a better, you know, it solves a problem and it can offer a better experience, perhaps for a certain clientele, maybe a different clientele, or maybe a niche clientele. But you get to create what the version of, for me, like a show that I would have loved to compete at that entry level, right? I wanted just more time on stage. I wanted to get just a little bit more, um, have a different kind of feel back, and I was able to create that. But anytime you create anything, I think like with ALPHALETE, what I wouldn't create ALPHALETE if there was an exact like thing here. It's like we need to have our own twist on stuff. We need to put our own spin on things, and it's just yeah. I think that needs to be the mission. And you want to not stir the pot, but you want to create something, be in your own lane, and just have something unique, which is what I'm trying to do.
Man, listen, I'm a massive, right? And this, I had an interview with Hart McGrath, right? And I asked him directly because a lot of my content is doing exactly what he's doing. And we came to the understanding that, bro, this friction is only going to, in terms of
It's
competition,
all
is
for the
only
sport.
it's all for the sport, right? So our common
Hmm.
love for what we're doing is raising the standards of not only us, but the ultimate goal of the reason why we're doing this. So with that, it then forced us to kind of reevaluate what we're doing and see what we can do better, right? And that
Hmm.
competition internally is something that I truly believe is kind of raising the bar of each other, and I'm really excited for that, and
Like we collectively as fans of the gym and getting on stage and even at a higher level, like we need to make it the mission to have like bodybuilding in its entirety like become why is it not why is it not televised? Why is there no salary? Why is there no this is the only sport that you have to pay an arm and a leg to actually like climb the ranks in. And it's fucked up.
so it's killing me, and I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but I had an idea for so long that I've always wanted to bring to life. Where, to me, it doesn't make sense. In the modern day and age, why doesn't the IFBB, NPC, why don't they have a subscription where, for $250 at the beginning of the month or beginning of the year, or whether it's 40, 50, $60 a month, whatever it is, right, for the calendar competitive season. Why don't they have something where now they can live stream every single show on one platform, right? And then sponsors can come on that, coaching teams can come on that, right? Like you said, bigger sponsors will be more attracted to that because now it's niching a community that's all together on one social platform or one app. Investments are going to come in, right? Athletes can then get 10% discount codes, and now they can start pushing the shows more, and then
Exactly.
they can even get potential more revenue at the bigger shows for people using their codes to now invest in the show, right? And it shows direct, line of why somebody's going there, and it shows like, hey, I use this person's code. They're in men's physique or they're in classic physique. I'm likely watching it because of them. I think there's so many things that could be done, but I will also give them credit for this the growth over the last two years in what we're been doing. And I think it's a big representation of Tyler Mannion having more say in the way the division and the sport is going. But I also think there's a lot that can be done, and there's people like you out there who are at the forefront of making it happen. So, man, this is really exciting time for bodybuilding. Really excited, and I think it because it's so exciting and so many things are moving. It's kind of giving us more ideas how to make it move faster. And it's awesome. But I wanted to wrap with this, and this is something that is important to me and something that I've struggled with. I think you've been very upfront about throughout your process. You recently, after your show, kind of had a pretty famous kind of blow up effect, right? You went from 175, I think it was, to 230, right? You gained maybe
Mm.
almost 50 pounds in almost a 3 week span, something really short. And me having dealt with a lot of, mental health through bodybuilding and because of bodybuilding and, truly just not being necessarily aware of it, whether it was fooding or eating disorders, anxiety that came with, the cycles, all of these things, right? As a friend, man, how are you mentally right now?
Crystal clear. I feel so good right now. Yeah, I feel incredible.
And then where were you when you were sitting at that 230 pounds, or, was it actually better at the 230 compared to where you were at the 170?
No. So like when I was I think the lowest I got was like that 178, and that was like depleted. Um, Obviously, like after just 3 weeks of life post show, like and no cardio, you'll be, and just yeah, it's not like I just ate myself like into a depressive state or anything, but it was fuck this shit. Anything I'm eating is just like, it's just like, oh, I'm just blowing
Sickening.
up, and it was
Yeah.
painful. It was painful. It was your skin. You feel like you're about to burst. You just feel like I couldn't even see my eyes. They were like this small, getting engulfed by the skin around my face. It wasn't comfortable. But then, I will say, like, now that kind of being 6 months post show, 7 months post show, being back at like a nice healthy starting point, seeing some abs, but being in a bowl, like, it feels really good. So I think that the post show gets better like the more experience you have, kind of like the more stage experience you get, the more your post show, the better your post show experience is going to get as well. At the
Absolutely.
beginning of your career, it's going to be fucking terrible. Like remember the first like 3 shows I ever did? That's when I was like, oh my God, I have a fucking mental problem. Like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I stop eating? Why can't I not stop this like feeding myself? That was a different story than like the last years.
Yeah, yeah.
The first few times you ever do I don't even know if it's just doing a show or if it's like actually getting to a certain leanness level
Yeah.
and being in a deficit for a X amount of time, which could be different for everybody. But like whatever that is, and yeah, you feel like a fucking maniac
Hmm.
like, that
Well,
can't stop themselves.
dude, I'll never forget this. After my first season, again, that's me doing summer shredding. I gained 22 pounds in 2 days and completely destroyed my metabolism, right? Completely destroyed my look. And keep in mind, I just earned a sponsorship right there. So I didn't even want to be in front of a camera at that point. I was so
Yeah.
nervous, right? I was only wearing oversized tees and I wasn't aware, and that's what I like to use this platform for a lot. I like making videos about how to properly reverse diet, is simply bringing awareness to kind of all of the pain points that I've had in my past,
Yeah. Yeah.
and because of
That's
that,
the biggest one, I think. I think the post show is the biggest pain point
oh
for
man,
most people coming in. I think that that's going to be a way worse pain point than the actual diet.
oh, 100%, bro. Like e- even just even just like seeing some even like 5, 10 pounds being put on, it's like you're so used to mentally seeing yourself at that leanest, like every detail, and now it's not the case, right?
The
It's
other
that.
364 days don't seem as satisfying. You know?
Exactly, bro. And I think that kind of having, and this is where I love my job as a coach because, again, all of the things, what makes me a great coach is what the mistakes that I've made, so I can let them know before going into it, this is what you can expect, right? This is I don't need you writing on your phone all the places you're going to eat after the show, right? I want you to have a full understanding of what your expectations are, what could happen if you let loose. And again, making sure they understand that you're going to gain 5, 6, 7 pounds of water, glycogen after a show, right? Don't fall in love with, or don't become too attached to the number on a scale, yada, yada, yada. But I wanted to bring this part up because mentally, I think bodybuilding is more mental than it actually is physical at certain points. You definitely suffer a lot of times to get to that heightened level of conditioning, but I also see people suffer for a prolonged period of time after they get to that level of conditioning. And that's where like a lot of people aren't able to reach the full heightened version of themselves because what goes on up here and what pulls them back. And as somebody who's been through that process themselves, and Christian, I know, has been through some of those, his own personal battles as well. It's extremely important to be aware of these situations. Now, again, brother, I want to thank you for hopping on. At the end of the day, like I said, this call was for us to peel back the layers of who you are as a men's physique athlete. And like I said, I think doing so also kind of revealed who you are as a person and as a man. Is there anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on the platform.
Of course, man. Of course. And again, as a friend and as a fan of Men's Physique, I appreciate everything you've done for me. And I also appreciate everything that you have done for the division that I love. So with that being said, guys, I will see you guys in the next episode. This is a podcast that I honestly never thought would ever be a podcast, but the comments, the motivation, the guests that we continue to have on, it truly inspires me to continue to do this and add continuous value. And I think you guys hopefully just got some good insight and some value from my good friend Christian. So we'll see you guys in the next one.